Hello, my name is Mark Taylor, and welcome to the Education on Fire podcast. The place for creative and inspiring learning from around the world. Listen to teachers, parents and mentors share how they are supporting children to live their best authentic life and are proving to be a guiding light to us all. Hello, this is Mark Taylor. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Education on Fire podcast. This is my first solo show since around Christmas time. It's about 10 weeks or so. I hope you've really been enjoying the interviews I've been doing. I just feel so grateful to be able to speak to so many amazing people and bring their insights and their wisdom and their teaching and their businesses and all the things that they're doing to really help you and to help children thrive. That's really what this is all about. And we've covered some amazing things, from junior authors to community campaigns. We've had parental apps, we've had financial literacy, computer-based maths, ELT, education coaches, and we've had Teach Active, challenging learning. I've also put a bonus episode in there from our previous podcast, Learning on Fire, and there's going to be a few more of those going in the next few weeks. So it really has been quite a broad range, but I think sometimes it's just worth articulating for my benefit, really, as much as anybody else, is exactly what it is that we're doing here on Education on Fire. And really, it's all about child-first learning. It's about putting the child first in whatever it is that they're doing. And us, as parents, as educators, as people involved in the learning for children, that's really the most important thing. How do we share that in a way which is inspiring, creative, and just creates the environment for people to thrive? Sometimes it's about having a piece of software or an app or something which actually really just inspires or literally lights somebody up because it's a new way of learning. Sometimes it's about a thought process or a bit of coaching or something which kind of makes you just really think about how we're connecting with everybody. Sometimes it's about a whole way of teaching. There's all manner of these things to do, but the whole focus at the end of the day is about what is it that we're doing which can really make us connect with the people around us, especially the children in our lives. And of course, so many of us are teachers and parents. It's not really about being in silos, about how are we just teaching in school or how are we just teaching at home or being parents at home. And I think the lockdown and the pandemic in this last year really shows us about how children are learning all the time, and wherever we fit into that, that's the most important thing. It's about the time we spend, it's about the connections that we make. So much we hear on the podcast is about, especially when people talk about some teachers or their school experiences that they remember, it's about the teacher or the person that saw them. It's about the person which kind of connected with them, saw through all the charades and all the things that they might have been doing, saw something in somebody to bring it out. And whatever that happens to be, whenever you understand that there's a human connection there, whenever you can get that across, then real great learning happens, real great strength is there, and a sense of being in everything together. We're all learning together day on day, week on week. And I think as we go back to school, certainly here in the UK, that's something I'm going to bring very much as I go back into my teaching. And it's something I've learned a lot, I think, over these last few weeks of doing lots of remote teaching. It's been so much about how we learn technically, which is different when you're online, but how that we connect emotionally and dealing with different circumstances and adapting and making that work for everybody. And I think that's just been a really insightful thing for me as well, and something that I'm really keen to bring back as I start to identify what works from a teaching point of view, but also what works in terms of a personal view, because it's that connection that we have with those children in our lives that really makes the big difference to how they then show up in the world, hopefully as themselves as much as they possibly can be. And the more we can allow that to be the case, I think the better the world will be moving forward. Now, there are a couple of things and a couple of people I want to do a shout out to here, which is just so inspiring for me. It's why I think Education on Fire is something which is above and beyond the podcast. I had Jim Hart, who's been a guest on the show before, reach out because he heard one of the episodes that we'd done and he wanted to connect with that person because they really love the idea of it. They love the community feel of it. And Jim lives over in Florida in the USA, and this was actually a UK-based person, and it just really makes me think you just don't know where these connections are going to come from. You don't know where these things are going to change your personal world and also around the world. You know, two different continents of people hopefully getting together and being able to share the sorts of things that they've been doing, and that just really made me think, that's such a fantastic feeling. And I was really grateful when Jim emailed and reached out, and he's very, very supportive and really sort of gives me a lot of support going forwards. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Anna as well. She is someone who I think is relatively new to the show, and really just put some fantastic comments on the website, having listened to a few episodes and just starting to do some teacher training and getting into the education world, and I think felt very supportive about the education community and the sorts of things that we're doing. And that's really what it's about, it's about sharing these great things. It's about hearing the wonderful things that are happening and also sharing those resources. And that was exactly the sorts of things that she said. It was having that community feel, having that way of feeling supported within the education itself, but also came across past podcasts from quite a few years ago now about our barefoot interviews. And then having sort of a specific thing which is going to be really supportive and really inspired her as she was learning more about the teaching profession and the sorts of things that she'd be able to use in her classroom moving forward. So it's great just to remember that a lot of the things that we produce and a lot of things that we talked about, they're evergreen, they're here forever. The podcasts just go back to December 2016, which is when we started. And so it's amazing that as people start to find the show, it really has all that long, everlasting kind of impact, which I just think is absolutely fantastic. Now, you may well know that if you go to the Education on Fire website, you can put your email in there, and we've got a PDF download of the top 10 resources of various different things that we've actually covered here on Education on Fire. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change that opt-in very soon, because what I want to do is new listeners come, and we're getting more and more and more every month, which is absolutely brilliant. I'm going to put together an opt-in where you can actually get some of the most listened to episodes across the board. It's a really good way of getting into the show to hear some of the range of things that we're doing and actually get some great insights off the bat, as well as then being able to obviously listen to past episodes as you find them, and also then hopefully listening on a regular basis moving forward. I'm also really grateful for those people who've joined the Education on Fire Facebook group. It's there really just to discuss the things that we're doing, hopefully have a way of being able to share a little bit of fun, a little bit of extra things that maybe we don't get to do directly on the podcast, and also a way to help me with my book enterprise. We want to create this book, which is the best really resources and the insights and the wisdom of the people that have been on the show, created in a very child-friendly way, which we can then give to as many people as we possibly can. And you can find out more about that GoFundMe campaign by going to educationonfire.com/book. And we're going to really start to reinvigorate that campaign, as I've now got a real start on exactly how the book's going to come together, how it's going to be put together, and the sorts of people that are going to be involved. And it's a really exciting project, which is going to really be my focus for the rest of this 2021. So it's really great when people get in touch. I really like it. You can do it through the Facebook group if you're in there, or you can always email me, mark@educationonfire.com. I'd love to hear your stories about how you've connected with someone, how you feel that you've changed someone's life, or one of those things where you just know there's a moment there where something's just literally been lit up by something that you said, or an experience that they've had, or something which you just think, that's made a difference to that person, or even as importantly, something that's made a difference to you, whether that's a colleague or it's something a child has said to you within that learning environment, where you just think, yes, this is really getting to the crux of really what learning is all about. Because the one thing we often hear here on the show is the fact that it's not a particular way of learning that's really made a big difference to someone. As we said, it's that connection, it's that kind of clicking point of just kind of, now I see what life is for me, and the learning of the tools to help me show up in the world as best I possibly can. So thanks for your continual support. Thank you so much for listening week on week. Please do share the podcast with as many people as you can. The more people that we can get to listen, the more people we can affect, and the more support that we can give. And if there's anything you'd like us to be focusing on, or any particular direction you'd like us to take the show, it's really great for us to hear these things. So get in touch, mark@educationonfire.com, and I'd really be delighted to have a conversation and even jump on a quick Zoom call or something and talk about those things which would be supportive for you. So that's mark@educationonfire.com. Thanks so much for listening, and I really hope you enjoy the next few interviews that we've got coming up in the next few weeks. Xientifica SOS, written by Daniel Phelps, is a unique children's adventure for young people aged 8 to 12 and even to adults. It's where science meets adventure. It's not a science book, it's a children's adventure novel which has science in it. 5 pupils, each with their own particular gifts, are thrust into a fight for survival and exploration that opens up the beauty and wonder of nature, science, and the universe. Xientifica SOS inspires children to look at the world with fresh eyes and curious minds. Riddled with riddles and poetry, it uses the power of narrative to help understand concepts deeply and remember facts. Children learn best whenever they are interested in something and enjoying themselves. This book does just that. It offers a new creative vehicle to add to the teaching and learning toolbox and creates a relaxed and enjoyable learning environment, perfect at any time, but especially now. Xientifica SOS provides a perfect platform for discussions and encourages children to ask questions, so it's not only ideal for lone reading or as a class book, but perfect for homeschooling too. Xientifica SOS can be bought on Amazon, both in Kindle or paperback, or find out more at Xientifica.com. That's Xientifica with an X, Xientifica, Xientifica.com. Thanks for listening to the Education on Fire podcast. For more information of each episode and to get in touch, go to educationonfire.com. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire.